Hi, this is Chase Utley, and this is the Phillies Show.
Hey, everybody. Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zwiecki. It's the Phillies Show. It is, what day is today? It's Wednesday.
The 11th.
March 12th. Well,
12th.
We're posting this March 12th. We're recording on Tuesday. How are you doing, guys? You can see behind me. Got the ballpark behind me. It's quite delicious, as Ruben would say.
It is indeed delicious.
It is glorious out. It's in the low 70s. The sun is out. There's like a nice little breeze going right now. It's perfect.
It's 70 here, Todd.
I know. I heard about that. My wife told me that's like, I'm like, get the kids outside, throw them in the backyard for an hour before dinner, let them run the energy out of them. You know.
Hey, before we get going, I gotta say something. I was walking around the city yesterday, beautiful day, and I saw this dude walk out of a condo complex down in downtown, and he was with his daughter, and they were walking out together. What did they have in their hands? Gloves and a baseball, and they were going to go have a catch. The girl couldn't have been more than 9 or 10 years old. The dad
awesome.
probably in his 40s or 50s. I got so fired up when I saw it.
Yes.
I was like, this is sweet, man. This is awesome. They went to Washington Square, and they were getting ready to have a catch.
Oh, that is great. What a great place to do it, too. Washington Square in Center City. That's a scene right there.
It was really cool. I loved it. And baseball's back, baby.
Baseball's back.
I walk out in my front yard the other day. It was chilly. And I hear ping, 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 and the kid up the street is in his driveway hitting into a net. So
that's awesome.
A little tee work.
Yeah, it's great. He's a pretty serious ball player, high school kid. But it's great to see when people get out there and throw it around and work at their game.
When I was home on Saturday this weekend, I was home for a couple of days. It was nice enough where I took my son out to his school, and I just, in between dropping off my daughter at dance and picking her up, I said, we're going to go hit some balls, take some ground balls. So I hit to him for 45 minutes. And the best part was after he was over, he goes, that was really fun, Dad. So I'm like,
nice.
Yes. So he had fun with it. That's the most important thing. Keep him wanting to come back.
Great dad work there.
Keep him wanting to come back. That's the key, right? So, it's so the Phillies played Monday, Tuesday in Fort Myers. They're off on Wednesday. They get back to action on Thursday. And we thought we would spend a day. The other day on Monday, we talked about Matt Strom's shoulder issue and a couple other things that had popped up in camp. But today we wanted to get back to your questions because we did get a ton of questions. So are you guys ready to tackle a few?
Let's go.
All right, let's start with this. We got a lot of questions about the roster. There's 15 days before opening day. Okay. So here's a question from S.H. Cooper, 1958. This is on Instagram. He says, seems like the last bench spot is still a battle. If the roster had to be set today, who do you think gets it? You guys have any thoughts on that? I did a roster projection today, Tuesday, for MLB.com, and this is just what I put down. I'll probably be wrong, but if you guys want to hear it, I had a bench that had Johan Rojas actually starting the season in AAA, and I had Buddy Kennedy and Cody Clemens making the team as those bench spots. I had Rafael Marchand making the team as the backup catcher. The reason why I had Johan Rojas starting the season in AAA, a couple reasons. Number one is he hasn't played center field this spring. He jammed his shoulder. He's started to throw. They say he's going to get out there eventually, but it hasn't happened yet. Number two is they keep saying Brandon Marsh is an everyday player. We want to see what he can do against left-handed pitching. Well, if you're going to see if Brandon Marsh is an everyday player, I think you have to run him out there every day. So now what happens to Johan Rojas? Is there enough at bats for him in AAA? Is there enough at bats for him in the big leagues? Is it enough to maybe start him twice a week? Maybe have Marsh move over to left, or how is that going to work exactly? So I say if you're going to play Marsh every day, you want to continue to develop Rojas. Maybe he starts the season in AAA. So that's what I went with. I went with Kennedy, Clemens, Marchand, and Edmundo Sosa on the Phillies bench. Is that out there?
I think there's a lot of logic behind that. I mean, Rojas has not played the outfield. He's got this little shoulder thing. They're slow playing it. It almost like gives them an out to send him to AAA so he can play every day, and they can give Marsh an extended look. as an everyday guy in center field. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't think if you want to see if Marsh can play every day, I don't think you can do it in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. You got to give him a run. Got to give him a month, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Give him some time. And every time I look up, this Buddy Kennedy, who's out of options, getting another hit. He had 2 more hits on Tuesday against the Red Sox. Oh, and he walked twice as well, getting on base. Clemens having a great spring. Great spring.
Mhm.
So I kind of like what you're doing there on your roster, Todd.
I don't mind it, but I put my GM and my manager hat on, and here's where I go. I have to be able to, with my bench guys, cover a couple of positions. One is shortstop, one is catcher, obviously, and one is center field. And I don't know if there's another guy on the roster, unless you put Kepler out in center field, that there's another center fielder if you don't have Rojas on the club. Do you feel comfortable enough with Sosa floating out there to center field? He's not going to be a great defender. It's going to be a little leaky out there. And I have a concern. So I think that either Mercado's going to make the team or Rojas is going to make the team. And it's because I got to cover my ass in center field.
I get that.
And so that's where I feel it now. They may feel like, hey, we can, if something happens, much like a catcher situation, they can zip Rojas back up. If there's an outfielder that goes down or something like that, or Marsh happens to go down, that they can get Rojas back. But my goodness, that's a very important position to leave wide open. So I got to believe that a guy like Mercado or Rojas is going to make the team. I do believe that Cody Clemens is going to make the ball club. So how does this happen? So you got Rojas, you got Marchand probably, because you don't want to lose the catcher. You got Edmundo Sosa and probably Clemens. But that's sort of where I'm at. And I know you're going to be a little short on the right-hand side, but I think that's what you go with. And the other guys can go to AAA, Mercado, Kennedy. I don't know if Kennedy has any options.
He's out of options. Kennedy
that's
is
a
out
problem,
of options.
and that's an issue. But Kennedy doesn't play center field. So,
Correct.
And I don't want to lose Cody Clemens. He's too important. He's got too many big base hits, and he's a guy who has proven that he can get off the bench and get a knock. And that's important. You need to have a guy like that. I think that they're going to go with either Rojas or Mercado just because they need somebody who can cover him center field.
When I'm putting together a bench, I want to win that night's game. I'm not giving a whole lot of credence to having a legitimate backup center fielder on my bench. If Sosa can go out there and give me 5, 6, 7, 8 innings in a pinch, I'll take it. And then I'll have Rojas coming down 476 here the next day. And if I'm in St. Louis, he can be on a 6:45 a.m. flight and be in St. Louis by 11 in the morning and be in the lineup. If you're in San Francisco, they have airplanes that go across the country. This is not 1938 when you had to get on the clackety-clack and take 3 days to get to Chicago. So I think you can get him here. He's your backup center fielder. He just happens to be in Lehigh under this roster construction. And you get him here the next day, and he plays. You only have to plug it for a few innings, in my opinion, in the backup center field. And I agree with you. It's a premium position, up the middle.
Hey, and listen, that's a really great way to keep everybody on the team and to not lose guys. I mean, that way, if Buddy Kennedy makes the club, he has out of options. Otherwise, he'd have to go through waivers or get traded prior to going through that process. This is a way, if you send Garrett Stubbs out and you send, Rojas out, then you can basically keep all of your assets. When I say assets, you can keep all your players because you have them in AAA in case there's a problem. And oftentimes they will do that, and they may choose to do that, Jim. But if I'm a manager, I want to cover my butt. That if something were to happen, I don't want to lose a game for a fly ball that goes in the left center field and the man can't catch it.
I got another bench question for you, but we're going to do it right after these words.
FT fam, if you love ripping packs of cards, there is a modern way to do that now on Arena Club with their slab packs and crats. I know you love ripping slab packs and getting that sweet card that you've always been looking for.
Yeah, and you don't have to go through all the other ones, all the Kratz cards that are in there. Bang, you just get the big one, the one that you're just peeking right around the corner when you open that pack, the one you expect to get.
Also, Arena Club will make you an instant offer for your card based on its market value. You'll get an instant offer of 90% of the estimated value, so you can accept it on the spot, simple, fast, and risk-free. Use that cash to buy more slab packs, and you can get your cards officially graded by Arena Club. So go check it out right now, FT fam. You can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and then use the code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/FOUL, code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase. Get after it, FT fam.
We are back. Okay, so we talked about what we think the bench might look like right now, but this is kind of a down the road question for a couple weeks. This is from Jay Sequela on Blue Sky. What are the odds that the guy who wins it, the last bench job, isn't currently on the roster? So I guess really like the big picture question to guys is, do you think they need to go out and get somebody? Is it like the lack of a right-handed bat necessarily? If you don't think Buddy Kennedy's the guy, do you think they need to go out and get somebody like they got, Christian Pache filled a hole a couple of years ago. We go way back. David DeLucci filled a hole several years ago. Do they need that guy, or do you think that guy is already in camp? Would you save your bullets for down the road?
I don't think you need a guy. If you really want a defensive center fielder, you can bring Mercado, add him to the 40, figure out a way to get him on. So I don't know who's going to pop on the waiver wire. You never know, but I don't think it's imperative they bring in somebody from outside. Ruben?
Let's not forget that Weston Wilson's around.
Yeah,
he is not dead. The man is with us. And he's a very good player, and he can play some center field. So he's a guy that can control out there if need be. When he's healthy, he probably will start off the season in AAA. I know he's very disappointed and emotional about pulling that rib cage, but he's starting to run and do some things. So might not be ready for opening day, but I mean, he's the ideal piece. And they got a guy. I mean, he's a guy. Mercado's a guy. It's a good signing. They've got some depth there. I don't think they're going to be going outside the organization.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if you believe that Wilson's going to be back and he can be the guy. I don't think you need to go out and make a trade for somebody for a few weeks. I don't think it's that dire of a situation for the Phillies. They have enough guys to kind of get through over the next few weeks. So let's see. Let's go to another one. Am I off? This is a great Phillies question. Fright Night 666 on Instagram wants to know, am I off base to think that the Romano closer experiment is going to be a failure? So he's already down on Jordan Romano. I mean, he's thrown the ball. I mean, I know he got hit around the other day, but that was a lot of bad defense behind him, I thought. I think it's way too early on that. He has thrown the ball well. The early, everybody I've talked to that's caught him seems to be very impressed with Jordan Romano. Do you guys have any feelings on Romano? He might not even be the closer to start the season. Rob Thompson usually doesn't have a official closer, so let's cool your jets.
I don't know how you can say it's going to be a failure. There's an old saying, you got to play the game, right? We got to see. I think he might get the first shot to be the closer, and he's had very good years in the past. Been a two-time All-Star. There was a 3-season stretch in Toronto where he had 95 saves. He's pretty darn good.
Right.
I know he didn't pitch a lot last year because of the injury, but I think there's a lot of upside there. I'm not ready to pronounce it a failure until we see what he's going to do. Like I said, I think there's a lot of upside there. I like the acquisition.
I think that people need to chill. And I think in this particular instance, you just got to wait to play it out. I like this guy. I like the fact that he's pitched in the tights, pitched in the AL East. It's not an easy place to pitch when you're pitching in Boston and New York on the daily because he's pitched in Toronto. If he's healthy, I think he'll help this club. If he's not, then it could be a risk, but we'll see.
Matt Fricker 7 on Instagram wants to know chances Bryson Stott is able to have a bounce back year. He seems very important for the lineup depth. Jim, why don't you start? Bryson Stott, bounce back guy.
The chances he could have a bounce back year are excellent. And he's had a really nice spring so far, hitting over 300. I think on Tuesday, I looked at the box score, 2 more hits and encouragingly 2 more walks. I think he's got 8 walks. So he's seeing the ball and getting on base and showing some selectivity, which we know he has as a tool. Maybe he didn't show it as much last year, but so I think the chances of a bounce back year are strong.
Maybe if that happens, Ruben, you might see Bryson Stott in the leadoff spot.
I want him in the leadoff spot.
I know
still
you do.
want him there. Let's go.
Let's do it.
I'm glad I don't have Rob Thompson's job because it's not an easy one. But I like the idea of going with Bryson Stott 1, Turner 2, Bryce Harper 3, Schwarber 4, Bohm 5, Castellanos 6. Mix it up. I still like that idea, but it may not happen. But it could happen later on if he continues to swing the bat the way he's swinging it, and they're not getting the production at the one hole that they typically would like from Turner. If Turner is the guy,
right,
then you might see that happen. You never know. You never know.
Thompson has always said that he believes Bryson Stott can one day be a leadoff man, and I got to think one day we will see it. But I think right now they are committed to getting a good look at Trey Turner, followed by Bryce Harper, followed by Alec Bohm, followed by Kyle Schwarber.
We'll find out in the last week of the spring who's going to be leading off and who's hot.
Yeah, he's alternated. Rob has alternated between Turner and Schwarber the past few days when they've been up here in Clearwater. Joseph Camisa on X, he's been paying attention to Aaron Nola starts. He said he's throwing his changeup a lot, almost as much as his sinker and curveball. Is he utilizing a new pitch mix or just working on things? I mean, this is a pretty quick one. I think he's just working on things right now. Aaron Nola always talks every spring. He talks all season long about fastball command. I need to command my fastball. And he has said many, many times, as you guys know, the changeup is kind of a constant work in progress for him. He sometimes has a good feel for it. He sometimes doesn't have a good feel for it. The curveball, I asked him this literally the other day. I said, could you just get out of bed in December and just rip off a great curveball? And he kind of chuckled. He's a very humble man, Aaron Nola. He goes, yeah, I really don't need to work on that pitch so much. So that's kind of what's going on with Aaron Nola. Robert Richmond on X says, I know the talk of re-signing Schwarber and Realmuto is big, but is it fair to say one of the two would have to go for them to have a real shot at someone in the offseason like Kyle Tucker? If so, which one do you think is the better route? So we're already looking towards the offseason. But I understand the question, though, because coming into camp, Realmuto and Schwarber were big topics of conversation.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know which way they're going to go. If this team flops, they're going to be ripe for a major makeover, and they will be ripe for a major makeover because those two guys will be free agents. Castellanos will be a year away from, only have 1 year left on his deal. Ranger will be a free agent. But if they have a great season, I see both guys as important in your future. I don't know who's going to, maybe Marchand steps in for Realmuto. I don't know. I'd certainly like to have both those guys back on a short-term deal as we sit here right now. But a lot depends on how this season goes.
Absolutely. Catching is such a premium, and you just don't know. And Kyle Schwarber means so much to the team other than just being a really good offensive player. He really does mean a lot to this ball club. But I think that the Phillies may, if they don't get a deal that they feel comfortable with as they discuss, how they go about this, I think that they may try to create enough flexibility to make some decisions later on. Let these guys play their seasons out. See how they do, let them see how productive they are, and then kind of go from there. And I think that may be the ticket because they're, the numbers that are out there as far as their payroll is concerned are astronomical, big. Right. And so I think they want to create a little flexibility there unless they feel like they can get a deal done that makes sense for them.
Yeah, hypothetically, even if they would lose one of those guys and Ranger Suarez, it's not like they have, Kyle Tucker's going to be probably another $300 million player.
Yeah.
I mean, probably on that, and that would probably be very light. Like if I went to, his agent and said, "How about $300 million for Kyle Tucker?" I think I would get laughed out of the room. So you got to think about that as well. I don't even know if that would be able to get the job done.
I would love to have Schwarber back. I'm a big fan. I think he's so important on the field and in the clubhouse. And I know some people cringe when you say this because it's hard to quantify in terms of data and whatnot and analytics, but I think he's a winning player. And I guess you can quantify it that he goes to the postseason like every year of his career. And for that reason, if I'm the Cincinnati Reds, I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but they got some good young players coming. He's a Cincinnati guy. He's a winner. They seem to always have a need at DH. He's a guy I have in my field of vision. If the Phillies don't re-sign him, the Cincinnati Reds, almost like when you guys brought in Tommy,
Yeah.
That would be a big move for them to get themselves sort of back on the map. And he would be a great piece for them because they have good young players. They've got some scrappy players. Their pitching's coming along. And they've got one of the best managers in baseball there. So don't be surprised. Imagine the damage that man would do in that ball.
My God.
Great American. Holy smokes.
Where the pitcher's mound is this high, it looks like a mosquito bite.
He could bunt it out of the ballpark there.
And, he lives 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
If I'm running the Cincinnati Reds, he's like my Jim Thome circa 2002 or whatever it was here.
And it would be attractive to him, obviously, because he grew up a Reds fan. I mean, I was just talking to him the other day because Gabriel Rincones, Kyle texted Gabriel Rincones. He talked about his leadership. Texted him one day after they had this long talk in the cage about hitting, and Kyle just wanted to shoot Gabriel a text saying, "Hey man, if any of that terminology, anything is confusing, please reach out so I can explain myself further, whatever." And Rincones was like over the moon about it, and so I asked Kyle, I said, "Were you ever like that, wide-eyed?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I remember the day I made my debut. A buddy of mine is a common friend with Joey Votto. So Joey Votto texted me because he knew I was a Cincinnati Reds fan growing up, and I got a text from Joey Votto. I'm like, oh my God, what do I say to this guy? I don't want to mess up the response to the text. So, that would be pretty cool. I got a couple other questions about Ranger. One from Pat Kreitz, who designed the Philly show logo. And so he says, what does Ranger need to show the Phillies this season for them to offer him a contract? What would that contract potentially need to look like for him to stay in red pinstripes? And kind of following off that, Michael Bradigan on X said, I know he said he wants to be here, but is there really any chance that Ranger comes back? Feels like there's no room in the rotation for him.
I kind of agree that it feels like there's no room in the rotation. Although there is room in the rotation, I wonder if there's room in the payroll, because if he has a good year, he's going to be looking for a big score out there. You look at the money these guys are getting. I'm not saying he's getting Max Fried money, but, high tide lifts all boats, right? He's going to be expensive if he has a good year. So I actually feel like he's going to be somewhere else in 2026.
I think that's a possibility. There's no question when you have a guy like Boris. I had to deal with Boris a little bit when Jason Worth became a free agent. I mean, he maximized his opportunities, dollars and cents wise, and that's what he's going to do. I think as far as the Phillies are concerned, they just want to have him be a productive player, healthy player for 162. He's never done it. Where for 162 games, he's been, healthy. And so that's something that I think that's important to them. Again, he may end up, and if he does that, he's going to be productive, and he's going to probably price himself out. But who knows?
And when you run a big league club, you always have to have that balance, that payroll balance, and that kind of the shuttle that, when a guy gets ready for free agency, he moves on, and somebody else comes off the conveyor belt and jumps into the rotation or jumps into the lineup. And you could almost see Painter as jumping in there. You've already picked up Luzardo, who's under control for 2026. My hope for Ranger, if I was the Phillies GM, would be kill it this year and go out and make a ton of money. And I'm going to shake your hand and wish you well and say thank you very much. And, for payroll reasons and payroll budget balance reasons, we're going to start incorporating a younger guy in that role. We're going to incorporate Luzardo and try to, build that way.
That's a sustainability issue. And I will talk to you about, Paul Owens is a guy that talked about this all the time. If I can bring 1.5, this is what he tried to average, 1.5 young players, rookies, to your big league club a year, that were productive, then you've done a really good job. And that does make some sense. If you can have somebody step forward once, one and a half or two players a year to be able to help you sustain your viability for the long term. And I think that's probably what Dave Dombrowski is going to have to do at some point.
Yeah, what a great problem it will be if Ranger has a monster year.
Yeah.
And the Phillies go deep in the playoffs, they win a World Series, and fans are outraged because they can't afford to keep Ranger Suarez, or he signed somewhere for a bigger deal because they can't afford him, or they have no room for him in the rotation. Be a nice little.
Well, you also got to consider you got the catcher and Kyle Schwarber, so somebody's not going to be back.
Right, and I think we all agree. I would bet against Ranger coming back. If I had to rank the least likely guy, he would be the least likely guy. Blake Johnson, 2898 on Instagram. What's one moment in Phillies playoff history you would like back? I know what comes to mind immediately for me. I don't know if this is the moment to come back. Maybe go back a few feet over the wall would be Raul Ibanez off Carpenter at the warning track in Game 5 of the 2011 NLDS.
Thank you.
That ball
October
dropped.
October 7th.
Be on this show with you guys at that the ballpark.
You know what?
No disrespect.
No, you know what's Ruben? It's funny when I read this question. I literally said to myself, "Multiverse, alternate universe. If that ball goes over, I do believe the Phillies win the World Series that year." And you were probably not on the show with us. You're 100% right. That ball, was it Lance Berkman, the right fielder? The ball just dropped straight down in his glove at the wall. I thought that ball was going out.
And Chase hit one.
Chase hit one right to the wall in center field.
Center
on good
field,
knees,
yeah.
That might be out.
Yep. So that was the moment that jumped out to me. Obviously, you could say, and Ruben, you might say this, but Black Friday, back in the NLCS back in the day. But for me, that's the playoff moment. I go, man, if that could have been a little bit different, who knows what the world would look like today.
That was the same day as Black Friday, October 7th, 2011,
right.
October 7th of 77, right?
I think it was 7. Yeah.
What do you got, Jim? What do you got?
Oh, I'm all about October 7th, 2011. Todd and I were
tough day. I mean, on a personal level, yeah, that was a big day for me. The other, I guess it's a series, or maybe was it when the one kid was it Fott, PFAAT?
Brandon Fott. Is it Brandon?
Fott, when he ended up pitching that game that, I mean, the Phillies just could not make the adjustments on. I mean, I was shocked by that game. I certainly wish that that things turned out differently, because I really felt like the Phillies were a much better team than the Arizona Diamondbacks that year, but they couldn't get it done. That was really disappointing for me, most recently.
Mm-hmm.
And wasn't there a big home run by, well, you got the Cody Ross home runs.
Oh, yeah, the Cody Ross home runs. They crushed me, too. That was when Doc had like a little bit of a groin pull. He really didn't have his same stuff. I don't know if a lot of people knew that, but he was not super healthy.
Did Uribe hit a big one then, or am I?
Uribe hit the home run off of Ryan Madsen.
Oh yeah,
that was to left and hit it to right. And then off the pole almost in right field. That crushed me too.
And then different year, Alex Rodriguez hits one off the camera in right field.
Yes, yeah, thanks.
So
you bring up great moments.
We're just killing Ruben right now. He's gonna be in the fetal position. He's gonna log off and just like rock himself to sleep after this.
Mama.
And then there's the 1915 World Series when they played the Red Sox, and the Phillies owner tried to jam a whole bunch more people in the ballpark. I think it was the Baker Ball, so he let them stand in the outfield, and they roped it off so you could stand in the outfield, but it made the field smaller. And
Jim, were you in the stands?
I was in the auxiliary press box. Harry Hooper.
How was the Wi-Fi out there, Jim, in the office box?
I was all spread out. I had my newspapers, my gum,
everything everywhere.
My glasses. I had it all time. I was spread out. But God. Harry Hooper, who played for the Boston Red Sox and later went on to coach Princeton University, he drops a couple over the rope into the seats, and into the stands, the standing fans, and they were considered home runs. And the Phillies ended up losing the 1915 World Series all because their owner wanted to squeeze out a few more bucks. So that's one that really kills me.
Jim, I remember your lead of that was Harry Hoover, stop, Homer twice, stop.
Nice, Todd. I
That
like
was my second graph.
That was your second graph. Oh my God. Oh, this is an interesting one. This is from Ginger Avenger 4 on Instagram. So it's a game called Start, Bench, Cut. Okay.
All right.
Start, bench, cut.
There are different versions of this.
Yeah. Yes. Start, bench, cut is the game we're playing.
Yes.
And it's for cheesesteak, Juicy Lucy, or fried grouper sandwich.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
I know what it is for me.
I'm starting the Juicy Loose. What is it again? Start,
bench,
cut.
or cut.
Yep. So who are you starting? Cheesesteak, Juicy Lucy, or fried grouper sandwich? It's a good question. This is a real thinker.
A good one.
I'm starting the Juicy Lucy. I'm benching the cheesesteak, and I'm cutting the fried grouper sandwich.
Really?
Wow.
It's fried. I like it grilled.
Wow.
I'll go next. I'm starting the fried grouper sandwich.
Ooh.
I am benching the cheesesteak, and I'm cutting the Juicy Lucy. And I'm cutting the Juicy Lucy because if you ever had a Juicy Lucy as it comes out of the kitchen and you forget, you bite into it, molten lava cheese all over your face, and then you're miserable for the rest of your dinner. So Juicy Lucy out.
I cannot start this process without starting the cheesesteak. Okay. Period. End of story. Either Del Sandro's or Steve's Princess Steaks.
That's your place. Yeah.
One of those. They're 1A, 2, and then Angelo's also outstanding. So I got to start with the cheesesteak's got to start for me. The grouper sandwich definitely is on the bench. Juicy Lucy, go on.
Gone. All right. So we got 2 Juicy Lucy's cut. Jim has Juicy Lucy as his starter.
Yeah, I'm going starter there. I got to get to that place, Angelo's. I hear so much about it.
You know what's funny? I've never been myself, and it's like one of my on my bucket list Philly places. I just have never gone for some reason, and it just every time I see it on TV.
Talk about it off air, guys. I'll take care of
you.
You got the line.
I got some connections.
All right, I'm going to take you up on that. Paul J. Casey on Instagram. What's your favorite ballpark food? I mean, I guess you could go generic, or do you want to? You could pick a particular food, a specific ballpark, if you want to go. Whatever you guys want to do.
Well, I always like that. Todd, you know that I always like that cheeseburger at Citi Field, right behind the press box with the Nathan's fries.
Yes,
that's a good tasty burger, and there's just a lot of them. I also like. This is not really classic ballpark food, but clam chowder in a bread bowl in San Francisco.
That is tremendous.
Very bueno.
Well, I will say this, no disrespect, but there are some fries in San Francisco that are just amazing. Now, I love Chickies and Pete's fries, don't get me wrong, but the garlic fries over there in San Francisco are to die for.
The problem is, though, you have bad breath for a month after eating those.
That's okay. It's coming out of my pores. I have no problem with that.
It's like smoking a cigar. You're right, Jim. You have some of those garlic fries at Oracle Park, and you literally like take it home with you back to Philly. You're like, oh my God, I cannot get this taste out of my mouth. But when you're eating them,
what's your favorite, Todd?
I was gonna say the you know what it is? The fish tacos at Petco Park. They have a great fish taco stand, and they are delicious. They have a great. It's I can't remember the name of it. It's a local spot though. They have a couple
Anthony's.
stands. Is it Anthony's? Okay, so they have great fish tacos.
I know what my best local food is. It's Manco's and Manco's Pizza.
Oh, that is good.
True. This is true. I got to go over there.
Don't let that hang.
No. Manco's is tremendous. We love Manco's, of course. Favorite ballpark outside of CBP? That's from Strauss Nation on Instagram. I'm sticking with San Francisco. I love Oracle Park in San Francisco. I love the vibe of it. I love it being on the water. I love the ambiance. I love everything about that place. That's the place I would send people if I said you can only go to one ballpark this year other than Citizen Bank Park. I'd say go to a Giants game.
What do you got, Jimmy?
I love San Francisco, but I'll give you a different one. I'm going to go. I mean, I love Dodger Stadium, but I really like San Diego.
Petco Park.
Yeah,
Tremendous.
I like the skyline in that neighborhood, the gas lamp and the fish tacos, and it's a pretty ballpark. I like that place. I like the press box. It's a good.
I'm going to go with Oracle at San Francisco, number 1, but I'm going to, with a close 2, I'm going to go with PNC Park in Pittsburgh. I really like that ballpark, especially at night, watching it from home plate out. Beautiful views, great skyline. You see Clemente Bridge, center field. It's pretty luscious.
Pittsburgh is a great. It's a great road trip for Phillies fans because it's close.
Yep.
And the downtown, the ballpark is spectacular.
And you can get a seat.
You can get a seat. And the downtown there is, the ballpark's downtown, and the downtown is very compact. And you see a lot of Phillies fans walking around. There's real fraternity among Phillies fans. I really suggest that as a road trip.
That is a great one. Yeah. The view there from center field, from behind home plate, Ruben, like you said, is second to none. They did an awesome job. This isn't not written really a question, but it's a comment about Ruben. But I wanted to read this. It was so good. No, this is great. I'm having trouble reading my screen here. It's from BS Strom 82 on Instagram. Saw Ruben on South Street recently. Was very nice. Told him I was a fan of the podcast. He's a PGW worker. Ruben, you remember this guy?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
yes,
all right.
I was on South Street because I was trying to find a massage therapist, and I'm trying to find out where it was. It was happened to be in the evening, and actually finally found it. But there was somebody who was working for PGW right there, working on the streets, and he shouted out to me. He said, "Big fan of the podcast, big fan of the Phillies show." I said, "Right on, bro."
That's awesome. It's always good when, that's good. Yeah, it's always good when you say, "You were very nice to me when I met you." You know?
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. Well, no, you want it to be the opposite.
Typically, it might not be that way.
Well, no, same thing with me. And I ran into somebody recently at a book signing, and she's one of the travel agents through my work, and she's like, "You don't know me, but I've talked to you on the phone before, and you're so nice on the phone, even when like the S's hit the fan in terms of your travel arrangements." I go, "Thank God you said that."
You're always nice, Tom.
My parents have raised me well.
Always nice.
I try to be. Not always.
Jim? I don't know.
Yeah.
Jim's also very nice. I'm the only one who's questionable.
No.
Nah, you're good.
All right. Here's a tough one. I'm going to put Jim on the spot. What move did Ruben make as GM that Jim was most critical of? How did that play out? It's from Phillies fan 75 on Blue Sky. So this Phillies fan 75 on Blue Sky trying to drive a wedge. At the Philly show.
You're trying to offend me, Jim.
Starting a brouhaha.
You won't offend me.
I know there were some times when we got sideways over stuff I wrote. Like you wouldn't talk to me for a few months. But I can't remember what they were.
There's plenty of moves to critique.
I know I leaned on you pretty good when you fired Milt Thompson.
Yeah. That was tough. That was tough.
Because I thought that should have been on the players, but in retrospect, I understand sometimes you shake things up.
Absolutely.
But I hit you pretty good on that one. But there's probably a few others. I have a tough time remembering, though. You just try to be fair, I think,
Heard Jim say the Rollins era was the best in team's history. Curious what you all think about the 76 to 83 era. Same World Series wins and appearances, most overall wins. Tom G 18 on Blue Sky.
It's debatable.
Yeah.
It's certainly debatable. I mean, it was a great era. I just because of the fan interest and the fan participation and the way they got behind the team, I just feel like that 07 to 11 era was, I mean, we had all those, I don't know how many sellouts we had in a row. 250 something. Yeah. I mean, that era to me, I don't know. I just feel like that was the most dominant they were at that time. They won the World Series, went back to the World Series, had the best record in baseball probably for those 3 or 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I'm at.
And that was a shorter 5-year window where the other was a longer window. But they were both great. It's like, Mickey Mantle or Willie Mays. They're both great.
Right. Exactly right. Exactly right. A couple more here. Ant Mazziotti on Instagram. Are there any cool stories Jim and Todd work on that never panned out? Can you talk about them? I mean, I would say there's a lot of stories you try to write and you find out that there's really nothing there. It doesn't really work that well. So you kind of kill it. Right. I mean, you just like something you might find interesting. Then you talk to the people and it's like, whew, that one's dead. So you kill it. Nothing really comes to mind for me though. Jim, does anything pop out to you?
I mean, there's stories you work on and you never get to the finish line. And there was who was the kid? Robinson Tejada. Remember Robinson Tejada?
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
Like kind of during it was a lot of losing years when he was that one kid in the minor leagues that excited people and he came up and he threw real hard.
Yep.
And I remember working on this background piece on him, about his upbringing and his family. And because he was one of the first kind of big money guys, I think you got out of Latin America and he made it. And when he came up, he was like 96 when that was like super hard,
Yep.
And then I think he got hurt and he ended up in Kansas City. And I had this notebook full of good stuff that it never saw the light of day. That's one that comes to mind. There's also that you just remind me of that great Bob Ford story, our former colleague at the Inquirer, when he was covering the Sixers. There was so they had an off day. They're on the road and they had an off day practice. And Bob went to the practice and he already had written his story and he was eager to get the heck out of there. And one of the disgruntled players came up to him and said, "Hey, Bob, you got a minute? I want to pop off." Bob's like, "Well, I already got my story done for today. Could you pop off tomorrow? I could use the story tomorrow." and the guy goes, "All right, I'll pop off tomorrow." The next morning, the guy got traded.
Oh my God, he lost it. Oh, that's so funny. I love that stuff. A little behind the scenes action. So, that's about it. Actually, going through everything, I think we covered most of them. And we got thanks again to everybody who sent all the questions.
Yeah, some of them appreciate it.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff, a lot of questions on Taijuan Walker's performance this spring and some other things that we've talked about in previous episodes. That's why we didn't get to those. I didn't want to think we slighted you in any way, but go check out Monday's episode. We talk a lot about Taijuan Walker. We got some questions about Alec Boehm and his play this season, and so we covered both of those guys on Monday's episode. So, guys, we'll be back later this week.
Thank you.
Yeah, we got a lot of good ones, a lot of fun ones.
Good questions.
Start, bench, cut. That's a good one. I like that one.
We're gonna have to make that a segment.
Yeah, we could make that.
Right? Let's make that a segment.
Yeah, we need another food sponsor. We could start something with that.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, exactly right.
Can't wait to see you down there, Todd.
Yeah, Ruben's coming down. You're coming down Wednesday.
I don't know if I'm going back. Maybe.
Come on, let's come on down. Come on down. The price is right.
Tell you what, people like that episode where we're all jammed in on it.
Jammed in nice and tight.
Real tight. So we'll have to do that again. That'd be fun. All right, guys. I'll smell you later.
Smell you later, guys. Thanks.
Smell you, Jim.
The Philly Show is brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. Subscribe to The Philly Show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like us, give us a review. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, and Threads. Find Ruben's analysis before, during, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Find Jim at allphly.com. Find me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and MLB Network.